So now that the pads are on, what exactly does the nation think of USC football? Another East Coast pundit realizes he was wrong to get the feels of somebody coming to LA. And hey, question. Is Chargers offense beginning to play catch up with the defense? Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It's August 9th, 2022. I want to start off by thanking the new subscribers who joined the channel yesterday. I appreciate you for jumping in. If you like the content we've been putting out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. Who doesn't like to make new friends? Now, before we start looking at the notes from around LA, quick look at the scoreboard. There were 0 games yesterday involving LA teams. It was a beautiful thing. Had a night off. Meanwhile, tonight, though, the Minnesota Twins come to town. They'll play your first place LA Dodgers at 7 p.m. Julio Urias, 11-6. Joe Ryan, 8-4. Connecticut, by the way, is coming in town to play the Sparks at 7:30. The Sparks, they sort of semi have a shot at the WNBA playoffs. It would take too long to explain. You don't want to know anyway. So, we are getting conflicting reports as to whether or not USC is going to be any good this year. For example, there's a USA Today writer. He says the Trojans are the second most overrated team in the nation. They're ranked 15th in the preseason poll. According to this guy, the only team more overrated than SC is Texas A&M. Meanwhile, I go and I look over at The Athletic, and there's a poll of coaches. USC is one of the most underrated teams in the nation. So what the hell are we supposed to believe, right? Now, some of you might lean writer, who's allegedly unbiased, and some of you might lean with the coaches. So I was like, let's look at it both. Where do they agree? They both agree the defense is insufficient. You know what? Probably fair. New coach, same system. System didn't work last year. A lot of new players. How are they going to gel? Totally fair. The writer, however, took Caleb Williams, the incoming quarterback to USC, to task. He was playing in Oklahoma last year. And he said Williams didn't play well against Baylor or Oklahoma State. The coaches think that's crap. They think the offense is just going to put up so many points. They're just going to overload teams. It's going to be ridiculous. Meanwhile, Athlon Sports collected quotes from coaches from around the Pac-12 on the condition of anonymity. You might recall we brought that up and talked about UCLA football with those quotes last week. They were asked what they thought of USC, and they said things such as, quote, they're going to be a powerhouse. The question is how long it's going to take. Quote, Riley's going to make the USC brand cool again. But the most telling, the most fascinating quote that I heard was from a guy who basically started off by saying Oklahoma football ran a physical version of the air raid. Remember, the USC Trojans ran the air raid under Clay Helton. They just couldn't run the ball for squat. Now, if you are a longtime watcher of this channel, and you should be, you might recall that we broke down Lincoln Riley's version of the air raid. Look on the USC Trojans playlist to find it. It'll show you what's the difference between what Riley did and what Clay Helton's offense was like last year. The quote from the coach, when USC plays physical, they win titles. When they're not playing physical, they just put up stats. And that is a fascinating, terrific assessment. Whoever that coach is, bravo. I think you know your game. Absolutely. Now, speaking of USC, over the last few weeks, we've had to debunk a lot of crap about wide receiver Jordan Addison. You remember he transferred in from Pittsburgh to go play for the Trojans this year. And there was a lot of stupid little gossipy kind of stuff from the Pittsburgh press, the Pittsburgh coaches, even some people over in Texas because they thought he was going to travel to Austin instead. Oh, he's gonna hate USC. He's just going there for the money. Wah, wah. Just all mean girl, Lindsay Lohan, gossipy, teenage girl bullcrap, right? I mean, if you were a teenage girl once, I'm sure you grew out of it. But let's be real. It was all just whiny little... Grown men shouldn't whine that much, okay? Well, there's this dude who used to work for Barstool Sports. And I think he works for a gambling website now. And by the way, if you're not ethical enough to work for Dave Portnoy, we'll put that to the side for a moment. So this guy who used to work for Barstool Sports told Dodger fans, he's in Boston, he told Dodger fans to, quote, pipe the F down, unquote. And he didn't say F, he used the actual word. Because Mookie Betts was going to hate LA. He was going to hate it so much, and he was going to leave in a huff. Oh, LA. He would have preferred Boston. Yeah. Jared Carabas put down the cannabis just long enough to notice that Mookie Betts is extremely happy. Fancy that. Fancy that Mookie Betts didn't want to keep playing in a town where the N-bomb is dropped every half second, okay? I mean, we don't really do that as much in LA. I've been to Boston. It's literally it's not even close. Some people think that Deep South is racist. They ain't got nothing on Boston. So the idea that Mookie Betts would be happier back there, you're out of your mind, pal. I'm surprised it took you that long to figure it out. But I will say this. Bro, I'm really happy that you managed to get biceps that large with so much estrogen coursing through your veins. But unless you know Mookie Betts, unless you have a personal relationship with Mookie Betts, you don't know enough about Mookie Betts to make those judgments. And you damn sure don't have the intellect to be making judgments about LA. It ain't a perfect city. But don't tell me Mookie Betts would rather hear a bunch of racism out there. Get over yourself. Other notes about the Dodgers? After the trade deadline, where's their minor league system rank? ESPN took a quick look. They determined that the Dodgers have the number 5 best minor league system in baseball. Baltimore is number 1, and that makes sense. The Orioles had a lot of high draft picks recently. Meanwhile, the San Diego Padres have fallen because they tore their minor league system to shreds to get Juan Soto and a few other players. The Padres have fallen all the way to 28th. The LA Times caught up with rehabilitating starting pitcher Dustin May. Dustin May had Tommy John surgery last year. He's coming close to coming back with the big club. The guy's pitches are flirting with 100 miles an hour again. Pitching coach Mark Pryor said that May's stuff was, quote, pretty nasty. So he's on the cusp. And third baseman Miguel Vargas, he was sent back down to the minors. Just a guess, I think that's a precursor for the return of Justin Turner, who's been on the injured list. The offense for the Chargers might be catching up with the defense. Now, we've been talking about the Chargers through training camp. There have been 11-on-11 drills. The defense has been absolutely dominant all the way through. And for a while, we were wondering if this might be a concern. Remember, Justin Herbert is said to be among the next generation of elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But if he can't move the ball in his own defense, is that a problem? Well, on Sunday, they ran an intra-squad scrimmage. First team offense, first team defense. And the first team offense had the ball for 5 possessions, 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns. 0 punts. So are they playing catch up? Because that's apparently a pretty good sign. But I want to issue a caveat with that. The first team defense was down 4 inside linebackers. So there was a place to exploit. Not only that, if you think about it, the Chargers haven't had elite safety Derwin James on the field all year. Remember, this is a contract year for him. He's with the Chargers at their facility. He's just not practicing because he doesn't want to get hurt while he's trying to make a big money contract. He has missed 10 practices so far. And I want to leave this little tiny tidbit to the Charger fans as well. If Derwin James does the unthinkable, remember, we all believe he wants to stay with the Bolts. But if he does the unthinkable and actually leaves, he would be ranked the 5th top free agent, according to CBSSports.com. Now, whether you choose to believe that or not, I don't think he is going to leave, mind you. I just want to keep that in your mind. The Rams have activated running back Kyren Williams. He had broken his foot earlier in the year. Apparently, it's healed enough to play. And wide receiver Warren Jackson. Now, this is the last week of training camp practice out at UC Irvine. They'll go up to Thousand Oaks next week. Today, though, is also the last practice that is open to the public. So if you want to see the defending champs, go right ahead. There is a potential issue at UCLA. Potential. We talked about a month ago about a recruited running back, Roderick Robinson. He's from the San Diego area. He's a big back. He'll be part of the class of 2023. However, he's getting calls from Georgia. The extent of his interest in Georgia, if there's any, I don't know. But he is fielding calls. The website hockeyroyalty.com, it's a Kings fan website. They have noted that TSN ranked the Kings left wing depth as, quote, in trouble. And the writer thinks it's a really weird way to rank the Kings, and I kind of agree with him. And he bases this on saying, why would you rank the Kings left wings so poor when Adrian Kempe alone scored 35 goals? And that's a fair point. Now, unlike other websites created by fans, he didn't get all emo and start, bawling his eyes out over the thing, but it is a very fair question. I mean, Adrian Kempe probably won't get 35 goals as easy as he did last year, but it's not like it's going to drop all the way down to 10, can it? Doubt it. Paul George plans to retire with the Clippers. Okay. I think it'd be kind of hilarious if he built his retirement compound out back in Palmdale where he grew up. But hey, man, your career, retire where you want. And the Lakers are hyping a third jersey for next year because, of course, you can't sell jerseys to loser fans such as myself soon enough, right? So they put a photo of the jersey up on their website. You can see it. It's actually a very handsome jersey. They say it's an homage to their Minnesota roots. And if you look at it, it looks more like a ripoff of UCLA. It just is. Now, if you enjoyed today's broadcast, don't be afraid to like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are trying to build something here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. Take care.